So what's new? What's new is it's, same wine, new bottles. And the ADL didn't know that. And they're supposed to be the ones who know all about anti-Semitism, right? So if you don't know that, quit. Learn to code. Do something else. Let's find somebody else who can protect us. Mm-hmm. So this is terrible. I can tell you in Boston, I'll give you 2 cases. In the city of Newton, Massachusetts is heavily Jewish, 40% of Jews in school.
It's a suburb.
It's a suburb. Leafy Jewish, you could say it's a leafy Jewish suburb, very Jewish suburb. So all of a sudden we find out that they're teaching from books in the schools, in high school, Newton high schools, north and south, from a Saudi-funded textbook called the Arab World Studies Notebook. And in it, it says, a girl comes home and she says to her dad, "Dad, is it true that Jews are killing Arab women in Israeli jails? Murdering Israeli Arab women, Palestinian Arab women in Israeli jails?" And the father says, "What? No, it's not true. Where'd you read that?" "In my school." So there it is. There it is. And
at least she asked her father.
At least she asked her father. There's a lot of people who are going, one of the biggest problems right now is that you think all of this woke stuff on college campuses and all of this critical race theory on college campuses, which is deadly to the Jews, by the way. And it's in the high schools because, left-wing and Arabist and Islamic funders fund curriculum mills, which churn out these lesson plans, which are pedagogically correct. They look like a regular lesson plan, right? Here's an introduction, here's a reading, here's questions, here's an exercise, right? It's there. And there is no Jewish organization Camera does some of this because they were forced to because nobody else was doing it. They did a great job. So Camera goes into my group, Americans for Peace and Tolerance, linked up with a parents group that tried to stop this. And we couldn't get the ADL and the Jewish Community Relations Council and the Federation and the American Jewish Committee. Those are the 4 horsemen of our disaster, right? Our establishment, Jewish leadership, which has all the money in the world to do what they're supposed to do, but they don't. They said, "No, let's not have this fight. Let's go see if we can do this without having a fight. And, it's not so bad." And they came out against us. And they said we were exaggerating. Well, so then people asked Camera, which is really respected in terms of its scholarship, "Could you please go and look at the curriculum in Newton North and Newton South?" Well, to get the curriculum, you had to sue the school. You had to create FOIAs. A state version of a request. Yeah, a state version of that is called something else. That's a federal. You had to do a legal application to get what they're teaching in the public, which people are paying for in their taxes. And Camera did a fantastic job. They got a booklet this thick, very scholarly, showing horrible things that are in there. Lies, right? Exercises. Let's debate, should there be a Jewish state, right? Should there be a German state after what the Germans did, right? Should there be a China state after what China is doing? But let's see, should there be a Jewish state? And worse. And they had maps in these materials that were created by the PLO. Maps, and then they took off on the bottom of the map that it was created by the PLO. So, and worse and worse and worse. So it just got worse and worse and worse. And we had to fight against our own establishment, who was telling the Jewish community, who wrote, wait till I finish this, who wrote in the Jewish newspaper here, The Advocate, we are exaggerating, there's not a big problem there. We'll talk to the school board for you, don't worry. This was a lie. So I had the head of the JCRC, his name is Jeremy Burton, come to my house, meet with a mother of a student, senior or junior student at one of the high schools. And she brought his notebook and his curriculum. And it was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. He stayed for an hour, Burton. At the end of which, and he looked at the stuff and he was like aghast, you know, at the end of which he said, you know, we're going to have to change our public position because this is, you know, you were right. You were right. So we said, wow, this is really important. Thank you so much, because we're not going to win. If you guys go tell the mayor of the city that we're exaggerating, how can we possibly win? He said, no, we're going to change it. So 2 weeks go by, nothing happens. And I call him up. Jeremy, what happened? My board won't let me do it. What do you mean? We can't have been so wrong. And you can't have been so right. Right? So these are the people who are defending the Jews. They're willing to do that. They're willing to write publicly in a Jewish newspaper that things aren't so bad in the school. Then when they find out that they were wrong, they can't bring themselves to say, oops, we made a mistake. We're going to go fix this now. We're going to change the curriculum so it won't defame all the Jews in the school. Because if you are sitting in a high school class and the country that you as a Jew support is shown to be, taught to be murdering people and oppressing people and stealing land from people and bombing people and oppressing them needlessly, then who are you? You're not such a good person. So that's the ADL, and the ADL was in charge of this whole business.
Under Jonathan Greenblatt?
No, this was Foxman. This was Foxman. And the ADL reported that they had reviewed the materials in the Newton Public Schools and that they were not bad. Okay. And they called it the Oren Report. Well, we didn't think that they had done that. We thought that that was a lie because they couldn't have possibly done that. We did that. So, and we had the support of the publisher of the Jewish Advocate, which is Boston, New England's Jewish paper. Great paper, inspired by Theodore Herzl, one of the best Jewish papers in the country. And his name, Rebbe Korf, who owned the paper, he had the courage to come out against the big guys in town, right? The Jewish establishment, all of them, the ADL and the Federation. And he backed us because he read the materials himself. And you know what they did?
What?
They ruined his paper. They took out the advertising. They stopped advertising in his paper. And now that paper doesn't exist. And that was a big reason. I mean, it wasn't the only reason, right? All these small papers all small papers are struggling. He had that. But they stopped, they pulled their advertising budget from his paper because of that, because he had the courage to say the truth. Not many people would have the courage to say that truth.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that that Jews, as typically liberally minded people who come from their own victimhood, an empathy to recognize a victimhood in other people's, are being too kind to those who may have ill intentions, malevolent intentions?
Absolutely. I mean, they're being kind because they should be kind. They should stand for human rights, and they do stand for human rights. And anybody, there are black groups today who will, who go around and teach the black community what the Jews did for the blacks during the civil rights movement. Important black groups, and they should, and they do. But they also thought there would be some reciprocity, right? And today, the Jewish establishment still believes that there will be reciprocity, and there isn't much. I mean, if you can't get the Democratic Party to say that, we're not going to hang out with Louis Farrakhan, and if you can't get Bill Clinton not to sit next to Louis Farrakhan at Aretha Franklin's funeral, we're on the left. We've led the left with our brains. We've supported the left with our dollars, with our spirit. And now the left is spitting at us, and the Jewish establishment is trapped, cornered, doesn't know what to do, flummoxed. We need the leaders. So now we have Jonathan Goldblatt at the Greenblatt, sorry. And he he comes out, he wants to fight Islamophobia, you see, which is a fraudulent concept, right? I mean, Islamophobia, it's supposed to be like a racism, but it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with ideas, right? If Islam says kill apostates, you ought to be Islamophobic. If Islam says it's okay to beat your wife, which it does, you ought to be against that idea, not against the race. There's no race of Muslims, but they very cleverly. It's one of the most clever things ever. They made up this word so that nobody can criticize anything in Islamic culture or ideas or history. So you can't say the truth about anything. You can't say that Jews and Christians under Islamic law can never be equal because they are dhimmi, D-H-I-M-M-I, very important concept.
Yeah.
And always were dhimmi. Yeah. You can't even talk about Jewish history under Islamic law in any kind of a real way because you'll be charged with being Islamophobic. So when Greenblatt says he's against Islamophobia, well, he's against saying what the truth is about Jewish history and about Islamic ideas, about women and gays and religious minorities. So, and that's what he does. Greenblatt writes letters condemning people who care about Islamist threats to America. Greenblatt writes letters against Bridget Gabriel, against Frank Gaffney, against Mike Pompeo. We have this case of just now in Colorado, a man from Syria who came here from Syria, whose family came here from Syria as refugees, goes and shoots up, kills 10 people at a place which
a young man.
A young man, yeah.
In his 20s.
In his 20s, on whose Facebook page is all kinds of wonderful stuff about Islam and Sharia law and the Prophet Muhammad. And from Syria,
support for ISIS, as I recall.
And support for ISIS. And the place he chooses to drive 25 miles to shoot up happens to be a place that advertises itself as one-stop shopping for kosher shoppers. So we don't know exactly yet for sure, but it wouldn't be a crazy thing to find out that he was going after those shoppers.
Because they were Jewish. Because the store could attract Jews.
Catered to Jews for Passover. Right. Yeah. We don't know for sure, but sure could be. So, but the ADL defends HIAS, the Hebrew Immigration Aid Society, which no longer calls it Hebrew, which imports.
What do you mean no longer calls itself Hebrew?
They kept it. HIAS was a wonderful organization started in 1918 to help Jewish refugees escape pogroms.
To immigrate.
Immigrate to the West.
And
to
resettle
America,
them in the U.S.
And resettle them in the U.S. And it was great. Okay. Well, now there aren't too many customers who are Jewish for that service. Well, why kill your business model? Why not just, you keep the belt going, right? Keep the belt going and just sprinkle on different people. Well, why not any people? Why not Muslims? Well, since there's a good business model. We see Muslims being oppressed or running from war and being refugees. Why not them? Well, why not them is that according to the ADL's own statistics, Jew hatred is at its height in those very Muslim area regions.
Like Syria.
Right? So, like Syria. In fact, I did a piece on somebody studied the Syrian government school curriculum. That's the only schools they have, are government-controlled schools in Syria, in which Jews are portrayed as enemies of Islam, deceitful, treacherous, deserving of the Holocaust. So every kid who went to school
not just Israelis.
No, Jews. Yeah, every kid who went to school in Syria heard that. Maybe some of them found out it wasn't true.
Palestinian territories or Jordan. We're all educated with this.
Right. But I just wanted to focus on the Syrian thing because there's a massive lobbying effort by HIAS to bring in people from Syria. So I have to tell you that You can't get into a freshman composition class on an American campus without first going to sensitivity training so that you learn that gays are wonderful people and that blacks and, that you shouldn't hate anybody, right? Here it is, this Jewish agency bringing in people who they know have been taught to hate Jews and don't even vet them, wouldn't vet them. And if I asked Caius many, many times, they won't give you a straight answer. Well, America vets them, but America only vets people not for their ideas whatsoever, but for past connections to terrorist actions. Okay,
right.
So that's not going to help us on this case. Right? It's not going to help. So you're going to import people from the region that the ADL itself says is the highest concentration of Jew haters in the world here, and you're not going to ask them a question about what they might think about their new Jewish neighbors. Or about how you treat women, or are you going to do clitorectomies when you get here, or how you treat Christians, or democracy, how you feel about democracy. So that's what ADL is doing. ADL is, and Highest, but ADL defends Highest.
Uh-huh.
In fact, ADL attacks the one important Jewish organization that the ZOA, the Zionist Organization of America, which has the courage, because it's President Mort Klein, has courage, a lot of courage. And he stands up and Mort Klein says, wait, what are you doing? You're importing Jew haters into America without even give them a sensitivity class, do something, No. So when the Conference of Presidents of major Jewish organizations decided to appoint as its new director somebody who ran Highest, or who was very high up in Highest.
A chairperson.
Mort Klein said, chairperson, her name is Loeb, I think.
A board director.
Yeah. Her name is Loeb, I think. Mm-hmm. So Klein says, what are you doing? What are you doing? They attack Mort Klein for telling people that Highest is a problem. In fact, in Boston, the JCRC is considering whether or not the ZOA, Zionist Organization of America, ought to be evicted from the Jewish Community Relations Council, the umbrella group in Boston of the Jewish groups. Because of that, and because Mort Klein speaks up about the leadership of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is anti-Semitic. Not the idea is not anti-Semitic, not the people in the streets, he didn't say it's anti-Semitic, but the people, the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement are anti-Semitic, and the Black Lives Matter movement was found leading pogroms in Los Angeles and Jewish neighborhoods. Yes. Klein's the only one with, we call it cojones, I think, in Yiddish, right? Isn't that the one?
No, that's Italian, but I think we say wokism more.
Yeah, yes. So they hate him because he's calling them out for failing us. Yeah. So so the main theme of this talk, I think, is we need new Jewish leaders, and it's very, very hard because they have the platforms and they have the money and they have the donors. Somebody ought to go pick at their donors.
Can existing management carry it out?
I don't think the people who are running the main organizations, with one exception, I think David Harris of the American Jewish Committee could conceively turn things around. I don't know if he would do it, but he's smart enough to do it. I think he knows everything we've said, maybe not all the details, but I think he knows enough. But I don't know if he can or would do it because, after all, what are these Jewish defense agencies? Let's take the American Jewish Committee. The local committees, they have branches around the country. So who are the people who go there? They're, nice people who want to do good things, don't want to particularly have fights. I don't know that. Well, I guess my main point is that the only one who is in the Jewish establishment who has the intellectual wherewithal to turn this around, I don't know if the courage or the desire would be David Harris. Otherwise, the rest of them are lost. They have no idea. They don't know about Islam. They don't know about leftist anti-Semitism, and they certainly don't want to fight Louis Farrakhan. It's easy to fight Nazis. By the way, if there were a Nazi on a street corner, he could get punched in the face by some angry Jew, right? No one's going to punch Louis Farrakhan in the face. That's tougher. Black anti-Semitism is a really dangerous thing. And the ADL, you know what happened in Brooklyn and Borough Park when black thugs were beating up Jews. The ADL, they said a few things, but nope.
Muncie, Jersey City,
they're not
Hanukkah 2019.
They're not going to go after Farrakhan. They don't have the guts to go after Farrakhan. And he can be gone after. The stuff they believe is nuts. I mean, most black people, if they knew what Farrakhan believes about who whites are and who Elijah Muhammad was and all that, I mean, it's crazy.
No, but also
Farrakhan denied that Arabs have black slaves because he can't stand reports that Muslims are enslaving blacks, because his whole pitch is that Islam is the path to freedom. Well, if you've got 5 African countries where Muslims are enslaving blacks, Islam is not the path to freedom. They can get him. They don't want to get him. They're afraid of him.
How much?
So I don't think that Greenblatt, nothing would change him. He's got to go. He's just got to go. And the way to get rid of him is the interesting question. And the way to look, Caroline Glick and Melanie Phillips, 2 wonderful, wonderful leaders of the Jewish people, say that
both authors and writers, journalists,
writers, journalists, intellectuals, both say that about 25% of the Jews in America get it, understand what's happening. And
only 25%.
Think like we do.
75% do not.
Well, yeah, that was their estimate. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe it's 35% who get it. Maybe it's 40. Who knows? The more blood in the streets, about Jewish blood in the streets, the more we'll get it. So the question is, and I know that there are an awful lot of Jews who think like I do, and like Mort Klein does, and Caroline and Melanie, and even center rightists people. But they're not organized, and they don't have a platform. I mean, yes, many belong to ADL, to ZOA, and many belong to Camera, but not enough. And the question is, these people are not spoken for. Their voices are being canceled or ignored or marginalized by the Jewish establishment. They're not. Their opinions are not heard or expressed. So the task for the Jewish community is to organize ourselves to be an alternative to the establishment. It's very hard to do. We don't have there are some donors who are wonderful. I've got a few. I'm sure Mort Klein has a few. I'm sure Andrea Levin has a few. But to get us all so that a newspaper man couldn't say, well, the Jewish opinion on this is the ADL says, he would have to also check with our side. And right now he doesn't have to check with our side.
Well, but wasn't that one of the purposes of Camera? That they would speak out against, okay, I understand it was mostly Middle East reporting initially.
It is Middle East reporting. That's their mission. Their mission is to be the watchdog, the check, the corrector, the teacher of journalism about the Middle East reporting. That's their job. Their job is not to organize a political faction or an activist.
Yeah.
So,
but how much of the anti-Semitism today is based on attitudes about Israel compared to the dogma from within Islam, which is preached like in Boulder, Colorado, like at the Muslim Circle of Boston? How much of it is dogma?
Like I said in the beginning, there are 4 winds against us, and these things are combining. It is bizarre to think that there's a red-green alliance, right? I don't know the answer to how much. I mean, it depends on what neighborhood are you in, right? I mean, the Muslims take anti-Israelism as a piece of, the Islamic lore about Jews. If we were treacherous before there was Israel, now we're doubly successfully treacherous, and now that there is a state of Israel. it's difficult to know what percent, if you want to like comb out the threads, to assign a percent on each one.
Mm-hmm. With the Democrats appointing so many pro-Islamist, Islamic imperialist, nuclear facilitators at this juncture, with the Democrat administration leading that, how many Jewish Americans would be willing to go against the Democrat orthodoxy on this issue, which bodes ill for both Israel and
the West and the United States?
Certainly, and in fact, emboldens the Islamic revolution globally.
Not a good answer. I mean, how many Jews will be Democrats no matter what, even if Joe Biden is appointing, 6 or 8 people who have in their records anti-Israel feelings and sentiments, and sometimes anti-Semitic. How many Jews most Jews will close their eyes to that and swallow, because what would be the worst thing in the world for them is that they would have to become Republicans, right? This would be, oh my God, it's very, very difficult. We're in a tough spot because we're trapped. We're trapped. And we're trapped because our leadership hasn't figured a way out to understand this.
When you say our leadership, you mean Jewish American leadership? Jewish
American leadership, right. Look, right now, you have the liberals themselves, the classic liberals, are losing to what Yoram Hazony calls an updated Marxism. It goes by many names: postmodernism, wokism, progressivism, anti-racialism, all that stuff. It's an updated Marxism. And the liberals themselves, the classic liberals themselves, are losing to this. And, and they're now just beginning to fight this ideological fight. Barry Weiss.
The woman Barry Weiss.
The woman Barry Weiss, right. Who quit the New York Times and she's a liberal, right? So if she's a liberal and she had to quit the New York Times because they're anti-Israel, you can imagine. I get calls from Hillel directors on campus who say, my kids are all left-wing Jewish kids and they can't, it's demanded of them that they reject Zionism or else they can't come in to the left-wing coalitions for social justice. So this is the big problem underlying all of this, I believe. Mm-hmm. The left is, the classic liberals are losing to this updated Marxism, and which is taking over American institutions, right? The media, campuses, and they're trying to swallow the Democratic Party, and they got a leg up.
Do you believe that the traditional Jewish organizations like ADL and HIAS have broadened their donor base sufficiently by promoting Islamic migration to the U.S. and defending Islamophobia, that they care less about whether we donate or not, or whether we support their policies or not?
Well, I know that Greenblatt did a very, very smart, cagey thing. He went to the tech masters, the tech giants, and he doubled the budget of the ADL.
Silicon Valley donors?
It's not, but it's not a Jewish interest organization anymore. It's a Democratic Party,
extension
branch. It's a branch of the Democratic Party. He's an operative of the Democratic Party, of the left wing of the Democratic Party. Yes, he is.
So has he strategically painted Jews into a corner? Do you feel that the Jews who consider themselves Democrat couldn't bear to go against? And in fact, he's pushing this almost as a...
Well, let's put it this way. The Jews were headed into this corner and he pushed them further. Yes. He's painted himself into a corner too, because in the end of the day, unless he comes out against Israel, he also will be attacked. And he is attacked because the ADL, by the way, here's their own trap. The ADL has a program where they bring American policemen to get training by the Israeli police about riot control or about policing or about this and that. Yeah. And so the progressives, right, the anti-Israelites and the anti-Semites now claim that ADL does this in order to teach American cops to be brutal to black people in America. well, the ADL is locked back on its heels by this charge. So that's where he's going. He's he wants to play with the left. The left is going to eat his breakfast, and they're doing it.
How does he respond to this issue?
I haven't. Well, I mean, they deny it, and of course, it's not true. It's obviously not true. The Israeli police have no interest in American cops beating up blacks, and American cops, I believe, don't have much of an interest in beating up blacks either. But lies go. Defamation is defamation. It's very hard. So I haven't seen. He won't counterattack. He won't say how much of a lie this is, and and who's behind the lie, and how these lies work, and how this lie about him also pertains to all the other lies, works in the same mechanism of all the other lies about Israel. He won't do that because he doesn't want to defend Israel. But now he's trapped in this one. He's really got his back in a corner. So Jewish community. Go ahead.
No. How much of Jewish survival and safety in the United States do you believe is at stake in having basically a police department without a trustworthy sheriff, someone who's essentially playing for his own salary or his own party interests rather than defending the interests of American Jews?
You said the word salary. Do you know that his salary is $800,000 a year?
Per year?
Yeah, $800,000 to defend us, and he's not defending us. So how dangerous is this? Is extraordinarily dangerous. And he fights against people like Mort Klein and me. I'm small compared to Mort, but he fights against the people on the center right who want to say the truth about the world, which he is hiding. He's hiding the fact that anti-Semitism on the left is really, really problematic, my friend. And anti-Semitism from Islamic sources and places is really dangerous. It's what's kicking the Jews out of Europe. And anti-Semitism from Louis Farrakhan is really, really important. Why don't you put that on the top of your list, Jonathan, and come out of your little hole there. But hang on. With all due respect, does he bear this direction alone? No. He's the head of the Jewish Defense Department, right? That's who they are. So he bears most of the responsibility because it's his job. His mission statement is to protect Jews from anti-Semitism. Fail. But the same politics have seduced of the left, have seduced federation. Not all. Federations, JCRCs, a lot of them.
How about the Jewish Press Association, like JTA, for instance?
I'm a fan of the JNS, which arose to compete against the JTA, which is left. So JNS is great. Jewish News Syndicate, Jewish News Service.
But the Jewish newspapers in almost every city,
right, have the JTA.
Have the JTA and
Jewish people in America are not learning what they need to learn because they're reading those things and they're listening to their ADL and federation heads, and they don't understand that the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of our grandfathers or our fathers. They don't understand that it's been devoured. It's being devoured by the progressives. Listen. Here's a very simple point. All of us, you too, me too, we're classic liberals. By that I mean we believe in equal opportunity for everybody, no matter race, gender, ethnic, whatever, equal opportunity. The progressives demand equal results, okay? And the progressives say that any group that's not doing as well as another group is only not doing as well because they have been oppressed by this group. That's the only reason why these guys are not doing as well as these guys. It's not because they have problems internally. It's not for any other reason, but they're oppressed by. Well, guess who is the 1% of the 1%? It's the Jews, because our prosperity now, our own prosperity now, is a reason to hate us more than ever before. It's a proof that we're thieves, because the only reason that we do better is because we were doing nasty things to keep them down. So that's progressivism.
Well, that's.
So if you're going to go to progressivism, if you're going to go there, the Jews will be the first targets, right? Like the Asians, right? Jews and the Asians. Because prosperity means theft.
Or because we succeeded in a meritocracy and they want to eliminate that idea because then it promotes communism, socialism, and a new power structure.
Yeah, it's about power. It's about seizing power. All Marxisms, even the updated ones. It's kind of funny to think of this, the wokesters as updated Marxists, because I think Karl Marx himself would be kind of shocked if he went into a gender-neutral bathroom. But still, it is an updated Marxism that we fight. And it's poison for the Jewish community and for civilization.
How can your organization be used as a framework or a structure to champion the ideas that so many people are looking to channel?
Well, we try. We're small. We're a 501c3. People can donate to us. peaceandandtolerance.org. We have united 10 other small groups, some not so small, in an umbrella growing coalition that is trying to be a platform for our views. People should write to us, and we help people join groups that are aggressively pro-Jewish and that believe things that we do. And there are groups like this all over the country, little mushrooms growing. So people should get in touch with us, and we can help plug them in, because we really do need to be organized. We cannot afford to lose this battle. This is for our children and our children's children.
We're only with less than 3 months into the new administration, and we have 4 more years.
Right. And it might be Kamala, right?
But will the policies change, or are the policies even being dictated from within the White House?
Could be worse. Could be worse. Could be, there are people who have fantasies that Obama is the president. Could be. I don't know.
Anyway, well, to be continued. Thank you for your insights and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.